Welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan DeLugo. Thanks so much for tuning in here on Monday, April 21st. It is draft week. Very exciting times. If you don't know, Club Jaguar, featuring myself, UCF Jaguar, Jason from Jaguars United, we will be recording live from Bottlenose Brewing Thursday night for the entire first round. Y'all can come out, have a good time. There's going to be drink specials. Jason's giving away 20 beers to the first 20 people that show up. So it's going to be a really good time out there. And then a really cool thing we're doing is we're going to have a fourth mic as well. And fans are going to be able to come up and kind of share their thoughts on what's going on with the draft, with the Jaguars, all that good stuff. So they hold the 5th overall pick. We're getting into a mock draft right now. It is Mock Draft Monday. The Jags, they're in a really interesting spot. And I think that one thing that has kind of, maybe the only thing really, that has remained a little consistent here in Jacksonville from previous regime to new regime, it's been difficult to figure out what the Jaguars are going to do in the first round. It has been very difficult over the last several years. And I think that continues with this new regime. And part of what that comes from is that's strategic for these guys, for James Gladstone, where he comes from, the Los Angeles Rams. They don't do 30 visits, right? They kind of try to keep things under wraps as to who they might be interested in, because they think from a competitive standpoint, competitive advantage-wise, that's going to help them overall. And they think that those resources can be better utilized elsewhere. Like they're going to have private workouts with not all the guys, but they will have private workouts. They have had private workouts that people just aren't privy to, not bringing them into their stadium, but going to visit these guys, right? So there's different ways that teams can get the job done when it comes to learning what they need to learn about these prospects. And the Jaguars certainly, like the Rams, have a much different process than most teams, right? So that's one reason it's difficult to figure out what they're going to do at 5. The other reason is, for a lot of people, there's just not clear blue chip talent after maybe the top 2 or 3 prospects in this class. I don't necessarily feel that way, but we're going to dive into it. Really appreciate y'all being here. If you enjoyed the content, please like and subscribe. You can also check out genjag.com/shop, pick up some new Duval gear. So at 5, I think the Jaguars try like heck to trade out. I do. And this is completely predictive, right? It's draft week, so we're going to be talking a lot about what to expect to try to get you prepared for the draft, right? I probably will do a final what I would do mock draft as well, but right now we're doing predictive, exactly what I think they're trying to do. And it's difficult. Like anybody who says they know what the Jaguars are doing, probably you don't want to trust them, because it seems like they're one of the wild cards of the draft right now with the 5th overall pick. I do expect them to try to trade out, because if you look at who they could take at 5, outside of like Ashton Genty potentially, which I don't think that they would do based on their history, Liam Cohen, James Gladstone, again, no clue, but just based on their history, if you look at what James Gladstone and the Rams have done in the past, I don't think running back at 5 would probably be the path they take. Great football player, but I think outside of that position, whatever position you could potentially take, whether it be defensive lineman, wide receiver, whatever it may be, where you trade down to, you could probably get similar value out of the prospect you're taking at 9, 10, 11, whatever it may be, than you would at 5. Now, because of that, I don't think the Jaguars are going to be able to trade down. I just don't see it. I don't think anybody is going to trade up to 5. That's my gut. That's my gut feeling based on everything that's gone down so far. So I think that they take Mason Graham. They sit there at 5 and they take Mason Graham. They try to trade. I don't think they find a good trade partner. Hopefully they do, right? Like I think that would be ideal. Trading down and acquiring more throws at the dartboard is pretty much always a good bet, right? You're increasing your odds. But Mason Graham at 5, I think, would be the pick I would make. I think they're going to make it. I think Mason Graham compares very favorably to 2 defensive tackles that the Rams have drafted recently that James Gladstone has been very high on. Braden Fisk and Kobe Turner. I think he's a more well-balanced player than both of them were coming out. And I liked both of those guys a ton. But Mason Graham, to me, his explosiveness, his hand fighting, the way he can marry his feet and his hands to effectively destroy blocks pretty much off the bat, the flexibility to bend the corner. I think he's a really good run defender. I don't know where that's kind of coming from. And then people talking about him being light, being too small. Yeah, he's not the tallest dude in the world, but he was playing around 310 this year. He dropped weight during the pre-draft process as he was working out. But to me, like anybody who watches his tape and thinks he's under 300, I don't know what you're looking at. So to me, Mason Graham is a very good pick. You know, the Jaguars just fortifying that defensive front, not only upgrading the ceiling for this year, but upgrading the long-term outlook there, I think makes a lot of sense when you have some older guys on the roster like Eric Armstead, guys like Devon Hamilton, who knows what his future holds like contract-wise, but you could easily see him not being a Jaguar in a year or two. Same thing with Eric Armstead. You do have Mason Smith, who you can feel excited about with the way he ended his rookie year, but having Mason Graham and Mason Smith, the law firm of Mason and Mason, not a bad way to do it at all. And he is the 4th ranked prospect on my board. I expect the Jaguars to be very high on him as well. At 30. Yes, 30, right? I have the Jaguars trading up here in this situation because there are some prospects that I think if they fall, and a lot of folks around the draft world are expecting them to fall, there's a few guys that the Jaguars might be interested in trading up for. I think one of them is Luther Burden. And the reason you trade up to 30, you get into the first round, you get that 5th year of control, cost-controlled contract with the 5th year option. I think Luther Burden is really, in a lot of ways, made for a Liam Cohen offense. His yak ability, his explosiveness, strong hands. To me, Luther Burden is a guy that has been massively overthought by the draft media landscape, maybe by the NFL as well. If he falls to 30, or even if like Emeka Ibuka's there, I could very easily see the Jaguars trading up. You're only giving up a 4th round pick, and you have 2 4th round picks. You're giving up 36 and a 4 to get up to 30 and take Luther Burden in this situation. Emeka Ibuka was already off the board. I just think those two guys really project well to this offense, and I could see it in a big way. I'm a huge fan of Luther Burden. I expect the Jaguars to like his game a lot too. But certainly someone who I don't think has any business being available at 30 overall. Then we get to pick 70. We have guard Tate Ratledge out of Georgia. We've talked about him a good bit. If he's available, I could definitely see it. And the reason I went with a guard prospect instead of like center, offensive tackle, I think the Jaguars have 2 good tackles. I really do. Definitely Anton Harrison. I've always kind of, not been shy about ever since we've seen Walker Little get on the field. I think he's a good football player. I just do. I know some people don't agree with that, but I think that they're good at tackle, and they have those guys under contract for the next couple years at the earliest in terms of, Walker Little, they could get out after 2026, after the 2026 season. Yeah. Anton Harrison still under contract. He'll have that 5th year option as well down the road. Center, they signed Robert Hainsey, right? Guard, they signed Patrick McCary. They also have Ezra Cleveland. There is a team out for Ezra Cleveland following the 2025 season. So they have the ability to get one of their guys in here at interior offensive line and at guard specifically and save some money while doing it. So I think that could be a direction they go. I think they'll like Tate Ratledge because I think he has the balance to play in any type of run scheme. Good pass protector, good athlete, got the aesthetic down, got the mustache, the mullet, number 69, got the full sleeve tattoos. I mean, that's as offensive line as it gets right there, right? At 88, we have edge rusher Femi Oladejo out of UCLA. I just look at him and from a athletic standpoint, physical profile standpoint, reminds me a good bit of Jared Verse. And when Jared Verse came out, he was much more experienced. He'd been playing a long time at an edge. He played at Albany, then he played at Florida State. But, 6'3", 259 pounds, 33 and 3/8 arms for Femi Oladejo, who converted down to edge from off-ball linebacker. And he brings energy, he brings juice, he fires up the guys, 36.5-inch vert, 10 broad, 20 bench press reps. I think this is the type of guy who, even though he wasn't at the same level coming out as Jared Verse was just simply because of experience, I think he can kind of project, maybe not as good as Jared Verse, which is why you're able to get him in the third round, and there's a lot more projection involved in it. But I think he can be a player in a similar mold to Jared Verse. And the Rams drafted Jared Verse last year. James Gladstone, very excited about having him. And the Rams got a front row seat being at UCLA, right? I'm sure they heard all about this guy all year. So I think that that's somebody who they could really use as an edge 3. And again, trying to nail these picks predictively, it's going to be impossible. You even look at the first round, people that do this full time are lucky to get 10 picks right, maybe. It's difficult. So that's just how it goes. But we're going to continue this mock draft first. Got to remind you all about Underdog Fantasy. Do you ever watch sports, find yourself wishing there was a way to get into the game? Now there is with Underdog. To play, choose whether a player will go higher or lower on one of their stats, i.e. points, strikeouts, touchdowns, and more. Y'all already know. Playoff basketball. I'm looking at selecting Paolo Banchero from the Orlando Magic to go higher on points against the Celtics in Game 2. I'll probably take Franz to do it as well. Download the Underdog app. Sign up now using the promo code DuvalDaily to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. Join in on the phone when you sign up again with promo code DuvalDaily. Claim your special offer today and get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly upon first deposit. Must be 18 plus, 90 plus, Alabama, Nebraska, 90 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus, Massachusetts and Arizona, and President State where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncbgambling.org. Arizona 1-800-NEXT-STEP. That's 1-800-639-8783 or text NEXT STEP to 53342. New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. So continuing on with this draft here. At 107, and really, I think the Jaguars are going to prioritize getting high value picks early on in terms of the positions. I think then you start to look at, into round 3, round 4, round 5, just getting the best football players they can. Billy Bowman at safety to me at 107, if he's available, somebody they could be interested in. He's a ball hawk and he's a great coverage player. He is a good athlete, great coverage player, a little undersized. And the reason he could be available in the 4th round is because he really does struggle to tackle at times. I mean, he misses a lot of tackles. He does. And so you're trying to take the good with the bad. You're trying to improve upon the good and the bad when you take a player like this. But the Jaguars had one of the worst coverage units in football last year. Billy Bowman is going to help you cover. There's no question about that. He is a really good coverage safety. I think he can play man-to-man. I think he can play good in zones. He's got the athleticism, the instincts to make a ton of plays in coverage. So that's what you're getting. You're trying to improve upon that tackling ability, right? The angles at times are not the best, but certainly the form when you get to the ball carrier. That's going to be what Billy Bowman needs to improve upon the most. At 142, we have a running back coming off the board. And look, Billy Bowman at safety, the Jaguars have an obvious need at safety. We don't have to dive into that one too much. At running back, a little more interesting, a little more nuanced. You have Travis Etienne. You have Tank Bigsby. Etienne's going in the final year of his rookie deal. Tank Bigsby will still be under contract after the 2025 season, but I don't know how this regime feels about those two guys. I would imagine they would maybe like to find someone who can bring a little bit more consistency in all 3 phases of the running back position, which again is running the ball, pass protection, pass catching. I think Kyle Monangai can bring some of that. He's not got the same level of explosive long speed as either of the guys they have, but he is shifty. He's quick. I think he reads out the blocks pretty well in front of him. He understands the blocking scheme and does a good job to pick up the most yards he can. And I think he's going to be a guy that hits a lot of singles and doubles. 5 yards here, 10 yards there, 15 yards, but maybe not the guy that breaks off an 80-yard run, right? Tough, physical, low center of gravity. I really like his running style, and I think that he could be a fit. And he does pass protect. There's no question about that. At 182, we've got a linebacker. I went with Teddy Buchanan out of Cal, but it really could be anybody. I went with him because I do think he projects as somebody who can blitz at a high level. He's got some explosiveness. And so I think they might be looking for someone like that. You've also probably got to be somebody who will get the job done on special teams as a linebacker being selected at this point in the draft. But Caleb Johnson not there. He's been a special teams ace for them. And then you also have the fact that Devin Lloyd might be going into the final year of his rookie deal. Chad Muma is going into the final year of his rookie deal. Don't know how they feel about Ventrell Miller. Foye Oluokun, you got to have more than one. So we went with Teddy Buchanan here, who, again, explosive athlete. I think he's a good leader. I think he's a good locker room guy, and could potentially, if they want to be a team that kind of sends that linebacker into attack mode, I think Teddy Buchanan can do some of that for you. At 194, went with cornerback Jabbar Muhammad out of Oregon. He played outside at Oregon. He's small. He's undersized, a la Darius Williams, who the Jags tried to kick inside and play nickel, but he's just an outside corner, and Jabbar Muhammad might just be an outside corner as well. I think he's a really good football player, sticky, aggressive, fluid hips, quick feet. I'm a fan of his game. I think the Jaguars might be too. At 221, we went with quarterback Max Brosmer out of Minnesota. I think the Jaguars might just say, hey, we need to get another live arm in here. And I'm not saying Max Brosmer got the biggest arm in the world, but they might want to find someone who they feel like can step in for them and really play should anything happen. Maybe they feel like the guys on the roster can do that, which they have experience with both of the backup quarterbacks right now. This regime does. So they might feel that they've got that. They might not. So I kind of took a look at maybe selecting a quarterback at some point late in the draft to groom as a long-term backup, right? I think that's what you're looking at here. So that'll do it for this one. Really chalky at the top with Mason Graham. I just think it's the most likely scenario. I think that the Jaguars really do like him, or based on what we've seen them do in the past, they should really like his ability, his talent level. I think that he is a, intangibly rich player, the way he approaches the game. And then Luther Burden, just too good of a value. You want to go get that fifth-year option with the first-round pick. So you trade up. You only give up a fourth-round pick to do it, and you go get Luther Burden at 30 overall. You also select Tate Ratledge and Femi Oladejo, two guys that are going to help on the trenches. So 3 of your first 4 picks are trenches. Your other pick in the first 3 rounds is Luther Burden, who is going to help out Brian Thomas Jr., is going to help out Trevor Lawrence, is a fit for this offense. And you just don't have anything on the roster that looks like a long-term piece at wide receiver outside of Brian Thomas Jr. So you need to go get that, and you need to do it early. I think the Jaguars know that. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section below. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. Y'all have a good one.